My name is Bim, and I'm the film's director. The story is really about 3 different gangs who arrive in the same space. They all have attitude and egos. So inevitably, there are clashes over the space. But throughout the process, they start to discover each other's talents and end up being inspired by one another, which brings them together.
I think with this piece, it's the language of movement. What's exciting about the groups is that they've got very different perspectives. There's one deaf group that use visual vernacular. There's a group of footballers that basically want to practice their skills within a small space. And then there's a group of krump dancers who basically want to get their crew together and create some choreography for a battle.
Really, this story is about fear of invasion of a space. The deaf gang were there first.
What are you saying? Cool, yeah?
They don't look cool. We come to use the space.
My character has a skill set. The main skill is, I think, it's from me, my character. It's VV, Visual Vernacular. In short, VV. VV is a way to describe a scenario, an object, a building, bringing them here but through their movement. A bird's iconicity, it's cinematic. A motion picture, you can capture those effects and then move it on. It's art. You paint the picture with your hands. You have it's a series of shots. You can zoom in and out and combine effects to tell a story.
Krump is a dance style that emerged from LA in around year 2000. It's an acronym. It stands for Kingdom, Radically Uplifted, Mighty Praise. It's loads of vibration in it. Energy is always on 100. It's free, raw, expressive, which can also come across really aggressive. It quickly became a battle language, battle dance style.
Okay, wait. The reason why they can't use the space at the same time is because the activities, in a funny way, they kind of require their own environment for them to work. For example, the dancers need music. They need loud music for them to be motivated to move and to create choreography. The footballers need space. They need to be able to kick the ball and it bounce off of a wall and yeah, they need space to be able to run into to pick up a ball. The visual vernacular crew, the deaf crew, feel as though their space isn't respected.
Hey, who's that group in here?
Wait a minute, space.
There's no one here. This place is free. Plus, we was here first.
I wanted to create the atmosphere of where the gangs would go, how they'd use the space. So Somewhere Run Down and Derelict added a more cinematic look and feel to the story, really.
Hey, you lot, man. Turn it down.
Bruv, we've had this altercation already.
Loud, innit? You're loud, bro. No need.
When I was writing it, I wanted the challenge of these disparate groups. And I think that's the challenge that we are facing in society. How do we bring disparate groups together? So I wanted to use this piece to explore just how distinct we can be, but actually, what does combine us? What does unify us?
As they get to know each other, they start to realize and appreciate each other's talents and share them with one another. That's really the aim. It's the message of the story.
One of the performers is very skilled in finger-tutting, and this finger-tutting dance form becomes the dance that connects the groups together.
My challenge was that nearly all of the actors are not actors. They're not experienced actors. So the challenge with the new actors and the deaf actors too was how to get them into character and how to bring out the best performance from them. That was the real challenge.
We're dealing with a film about a story, so there's a common language of what the film is about that we're expressing. And we're talking in terms of film parlance as far as what sort of shots we want to do, what sort of action we want to do. So it's not difficult, even without interpreters, to communicate what is really a common language of you know, it's your shot now, or, you know, we're doing all the group of you together. So everyone's working on the same project, so there's a common language of what the story is about.
Movement as a communicative tool is really important in this piece. Obviously, with BSL, which is quite literally communication as movement. But then you've got the poetic development of that, which is visual vernacular. Then you've got football, which for me is about patterns in space and the feint and the trickery. It says something about, in a way, lying to someone. So you'll say something and then you'll misdirect them another way. And then fundamentally, crump dance, which is made up of loads of gestures, as well as very huge, passionate movement. There's the stomp, which is the stamp on the foot. There's the point. There's a lot of different movement gestures that go beyond dance.
5, 6, 7, and boom, bang, boom, 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 that, boom, bang, boom. Use the feeling, yeah.
In this piece, there are 4 monologues for 4 of the main characters.
I'm not feeling that. We're so much better than that.
I'd rather play the boys that think they're better than me. I'd rather play the pedigree of the Premier League.
The purpose of the monologues is to get closer to the character. It's like a magnifying glass to their intentions and what motivates them to do these things. And also I like the fact that it's to camera. So in a way, it's between the character and the audience.
The purpose of having monologues in the film for the four lead characters was because we really wanted to get into their worlds, get into their minds. So obviously the monologues are unique. They stand away from the film. They're abstract. And again, as I said, we want to get into their mindset, see their vulnerability, see their emotions more clearly, get into their worlds, basically. That's why we created the monologues.
Ace is, in some ways, the leader of the deaf community. He's the dopest poet out of the lot of them. Everybody acknowledges his smartness. He's so clever. He's a visionary in the group.
Throughout the film, he seems very outgoing and expressive, but actually, you don't see his depths. The side of him where he's true to himself isn't shared. He's always adjusting to what others want, but they never adjust to what Ace wants. So that monologue, it's powerful.
The thing about him is he's very self-critical, and he also wants to be noticed. We used mirrors as a metaphor for his self-criticism, but also he wants to tell people that there is much more to him than being deaf.
One of his biggest challenges is the fact that a lot of hearing people do not see his skill. They do not see his talent. And it frustrates him that with his deaf speak, people see him as disabled. And he struggles with that a lot.
You know, even if you kind of you register that there's something there, and then we see the barrier, create the barrier. And it doesn't need to be necessarily this is movement to create the barrier. It doesn't need to be that. But create an imaginary line and have your conversation.
Not just an attractive face, I can play defense if you attack my race, attack my gender, or attack my faith. I'm a coder, which means I'm a child of deaf adults. So I've been exposed to the deaf culture from the day I was born. I've been dancing since I was 6. So to bring my passion for dance and deaf culture and deaf awareness, it's about how I see these two worlds collide, and opened up my perspective on bringing dance and deaf culture together, and BSL, the language, because they're both languages, dance, movement and sign language, it's all conveying your conversation. But now it's school versus football, dead ball versus homework schedule, A-levels versus Sadio Mane levels.
Naima's motivation is really that she just wants to play football. Her love of football is immense, but because she's restricted, her parents have banned her from playing because they want her to be a girl. Their views on gender push her to be a good girl, doing proper girly stuff. But she goes against that and rebels. Then when she discovers the space, she seizes the chance to play and show her love.
In the film, Naima does a monologue, and this is for the audience to really understand her perspective and where she's coming from. And it feels like these two worlds of football and my family life are now overlapping, and it's like, what am I gonna do with this? I need to keep up appearances, because that's what my parents did. The ball's in my court and all I'm thinking is clearances. Not ready to tackle the drama. It stresses me. I could be a martyr like the Brazilian baller, see? I could do both, and if I'm killing it, I alter. Disguised as an obedient daughter.
My character is a very strong character. He tries to seek change. He uses dance as a means to try and do better for himself as well as the people that he works around and works with.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4. No, again. 5, 6, 7 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and what? Do you know what it is? I can't feel it. There's no feeling. I can't feel nothing, man.
Theo's problem is he's frustrated with the dancers because he's seen life from a perspective where he's a little bit older than the rest of his mates, and he doesn't want them to go down the same road as he's almost gone down. So he wants them to be focused, you know, he wants them to be alert, ready, and just on the money for anything and everything.
That's why my crew crumb hard. We buck hard. Some of these youths could be stars. Got the lines, but I'm just spitting with the energy.
It doesn't even matter if you forgot the lines, bro. Trust me. You see how it's going, and then you're getting gassed.
Yeah.
Let the organicness of your gas lead the essence of crump.
Because that's why we crumb hard. Because some of these young bucks are scarred. Emotionally, they feel parred. Trauma hidden by the tough guard. I believe this crew can go far. I believe that some of these youths could be stars.
I put Theo on the rooftop. The idea was really a metaphor for him seeing everything, having that overview, and seeing the world for what it is. However, he struggles with taking responsibility for changing the world. He feels very much alone. It's them against him.
18, take 1. Action.
That's how I need that. I need to feel that. Minus the idiot feedback. I need my crew to feel that. And if not, we need a will back. Back in the day, Ends was a mad thing.
His concern is the way in which he's seen versus his potential. The way in which his environment is set up for him to fail, but how he's gonna succeed beyond that.
But I was never into the crap. Mother raised me better than that. Never gonna collapse between the cracks. I believe in the crap. These street feed to the black. Dodgy police keep eating the cracks to snake us.
He doesn't look at the surface, he looks way beyond. He looks to the horizon of his reality.
That's how I need that. That's how I need my crew to feel that. Minus the idiot feedback.
Let's stop. Need more light, guys. Yeah.
Working with the deaf collaborators, it's amazing just how clear they were about what it means to be marginalized. And I was able to bring a lot of my experiences as a black man to this story, knowing what it feels like when someone makes an assumption about you.
My character is called Russell. His character has a strong deaf identity. He's an advocate. Also, he looks out for his deaf #1 crew. He doesn't feel that hearing people need to be included. Also, he feels that deaf people can do better than hearing people in the real world.
Russell's character, his motivation and journey stems from him being the leader of the deaf group. He's also very protective of the group, but he has a big chip on his shoulder with the hearing groups. He has attitude. He's anti-hearing and dismissive of them. He wants to protect his deaf bubble, his world that he wants to be in.
He grew up in a hearing family that kind of sidelined him, so he's grown up with that. And he's created a world around him which is very pro-deaf, almost anti-hearing to a certain extent.
With Russell's monologue, he's venting, expressing his issues, his anger with hearing oppression, and all that. So we use the arms grabbing at him as a metaphor for what's holding him back in his life. The things that restrain him. It's more about him looking within himself to see why he's so angry about his life.
The monologue is more him saying, I'm facing you as a deaf person and telling you to remember where your character is, your identity, where you fit in.
So, you know, Bim's just saying you don't need to look at the camera deadpan all the time. You can look around you, you can use your surroundings, because this is your moment. This is not a music video. This is you in your thoughts, in your whole thought process.
What are the challenges that the deaf community go through in a hearing environment? It was very important for me to really target that area. And so we as the hearing community, we understand a little bit more about the deaf community. What's beautiful about the movement as the language is that dance is just one aspect of movement as language, and we've got much more explicit ideas of language with the visual vernacular. And even with football, there is a poetry to the way in which people use the ball and use feint and trickery. So I think that in as disparate that they are, there are these connections which I think will allow us to see them as one moment.
Because it's all authentic, you have moments where there's miscommunication, and that happens in real life, and we're not trying to hide that. So it's, I think as an audience, you really see us trying to find the medium of these three worlds of dance, football, and the deaf culture, and really trying to find a medium. So I think it's relatable.
By the end of it, the groups have really joined together as one. The space that they're sharing is more important, and the piece ends with everyone coming together, and it's, you know, it's a really nice summation to the story.
Then going 3? And then going down in 3.
Yeah, Wall Street now.
Yeah. 2, 3, 1. All right, cool. Let's do that again. Yeah. 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, when you do that, 4 back into something. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever. 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 4. Whatever. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, cool.
So that storyline is linked to missing identities and missing places where we can come together.
The message of this film is not to be too quick to judge strangers. Once you've crossed that line of getting to know a person more, you might be surprised by how much you have in common, how you've learned something new, how much you feel valued. So this is about being open-minded and trying to accept and appreciate new and different people.